You're listening to Real Coaching Radio, building a positive network.
And at least all the verbal language, because that's what words are, is concepts.
Yes.
And the word confusion, which I define as the primary human problem, because everything comes down to that. Mm-hmm. That word is when your concepts don't fuse with reality.
Yeah, reality is a big word these days. Everything's reality.
Well, but see, that's why that has to be simplified. The reality I'm talking about is the laws of energy. Mm-hmm. And everything is energy. So you've got to reduce it to energy, or else it doesn't mean anything.
That's correct. It's like when you talk about a person. Go ahead, Steve.
Since this is the conscious view, we have to make this like interactive between 3, 4, 5, 6 people. And right now we have 3. So I'm gonna ask both of you to let's get into reality right now, because I have worked with Dr. Allen for quite a while now, so I understand him, and I consider him really a pioneer in terms of consciousness. However, he is in a way, he's a doctor, a PhD, a scientist, and we're still working on and helping him. How do we translate, in terms of what he knows and what he does, to people that can understand it, the average person? And it's a challenge.
I agree with you. That's a very, very large challenge for people to even understand everyday conversation. Even just having a conversation with somebody, you look at them and you say, well, you don't get it. And they just don't understand. How do you have the patience of somebody
to understand
this
is why I quit psychology some 23 years ago, is because the concepts I could see were not matching, especially when I was out in the field now working one-on-one with people. It wasn't working. So I quit, and the only thing that got me back is a science that uses infrared to measure the electrical energy flow between all the different organs and glands of the body, and then begin to understand human functioning through the 23 organ gland energy system. And when you do that, everything begins to come together so that everything makes sense. Otherwise, it is confusing because the concepts don't fuse with reality energetically.
Okay. Do you think this is the brain actually fascinates me? I'm very fascinated with the brain, and anything I can read about the brain, because I don't believe we use as much as we should use. Was the reality, because you have to talk simplistically outside of the box, because everybody understands it, of the layman's language, as I call it. So How do we get people to understand, to start practicing, or to try to start using their brain in different ways, or instead of just going in one direction, start something else and learn something else, or do something to actually encourage them?
Okay.
May I propose something?
I get your question, and basically, the answer is to first of all, your question was, how do you do this? And the first step is to understand it's a game, and it's a game about energy, and it works according to the laws and the ways and the Tao of energy. And ancient wisdom conforms with this almost 100%.
Okay.
And so that's the first thing, because otherwise you're trying to play a game and you don't even know what the game is.
Well, I was going to say, they don't even know what the game is. They don't even know how to start the game. Never mind finish the game or play the game.
Exactly. So you got to know what the game is. First thing.
You have to teach them a way where they're going to understand, which is...
that already, and here's the beauty of it, it already aligns with what they already know on a very deep level, once they can tune into themselves enough to connect with that.
What's the best way for them to tune into themselves? How do they sit in a room? What do they do? Go for a walk? What do they do?
Ninon, can we hang up for a second?
Yes.
I'm afraid that this is going to end up to be a scientific discussion, and that will be a problem because most people will not understand it. Okay. So here's what I'm proposing, and let me know if you guys are game. Since Ninon is with us, Ninon is the best representative that I know between the three of us that can represent kids, because she's been spending the last, 12 years, 14 years?
Yeah.
With them. So please, Ninon, share with the listeners and with Dr. Dean and me, what is your impression? What is the reality for youngsters today between 13 and in their early 20s? What's reality like?
I think reality is it seems to be locked in a room, and it's with a computer. It used to be a television, and now it's a computer. And unfortunately, with the economy, which this might be good in one way about the economy, is because both parents have been working. Now, with both parents working, you've got nobody at home. You've now got a bunch of latchkey kids that they're not allowed to play outside because of the gangs. They're not allowed to be with their friends because they might end up in a gang. So these kids are very undecided as to where they're going. So they sort of go to school, and some kids, which is absolutely, I don't know how a kid can do this, they can go to school 6 o'clock in the morning till 6 o'clock at night. The reason they go so early is because parents have to go to work and then they don't come home till 6. Now, when they all come home at 6, it's dashing out and get some fast food. So now we have the obesity problem. So with obesity with these kids, they don't read menus. They don't read how many calories and fats and things are in anything. So they just pick up the hamburger or what are they told to pick up. And this becomes a way of their life, which is going to school, playing with these kids, locked with a fence around, so they're fenced in. They can't play in the streets because the gangs or whatever's going on, the parents are afraid. Then they get home and they're locked in a room. These kids seem to be all locked up. The kids don't seem to be having any freedom. And I don't understand what the parents are thinking of, or how they think of how these children survive, or whether they've just got into this crazy rut of, yeah, they're safe, they go to school, they've got this fence around them, they come out, they come home, they're going to stay in their house till parents come home. I see you nodding your head. And so this is a way of life, become a way of life. They don't really have any communication.
Right.
They have probably abuse at school because of maybe their weight and everything. Now, this might be a good thing. With the economy, and now both parents can't get a job, we've now got a parent at home. So maybe this will twist things around, and maybe a parent is at home, whether it's the mother or the father, preferably the mother, though this day and age it can be the father too, because they're more knowledgeable now of how to bring up a child and how to take care of a child, whereas in my time, Mama definitely took care of the children. But so things have changed a little bit there. So maybe there's going to be a little hope in this world we're living in, which there's always a gain out of something. And I think if we look at having a gain out of something, so I think these children might benefit by this a little bit. They might not get all the things they want, but what do they really need unless we tell them or buy it for them that they know they want it, or unless some other kid has got it.
You're listening to Real Coaching Radio, building a positive network.